spring games that we need to watch and some spring games that you guys need to keep your eye on because we're getting close. We're getting really close to spring. You can feel it coming. It's almost March already, which is crazy to say, but we're almost there. And number one on my list, I'm just gonna start right at the top. We're gonna have Wisconsin. New head coach Luke Fickell's coming in. They have new offense coming in as well under Phil Longo. Now, I think this is going to be the end of an era for Badger football. I think they're going to go totally away from the 12, 13 personnel, tight ends, pound the rock, play slow. Like, that's not how Luke Fickell plays. That's not the type of offense he brought Phil Longo in to run. Phil Longo was at North Carolina with Drake May throwing it all over, lighting up the scoreboard, 40 points per game, nearly. Like, I think that's what we're going to see, and I hope that's what we're going to see. Like, I want the Big Ten to change, especially the Big Ten West. You think of Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois. Like, those teams are not explosive at all, and they've all stayed traditional. They've all stick to what they became known for, especially Wisconsin. Now, I'm not taking anything away from how the Badgers made their program, because they're right up there for running back university. Some of the best running backs we've ever seen have came from Wisconsin. With that being said, you bring in quarterbacks like Tanner Mordecai and Nick Evers to battle out for your starting job. I don't think you're bringing them in to hand it off 65 to 70% of the time. Now, speaking of the quarterbacks, I think Luke Fickell brought in two very talented options that can put Wisconsin in a position to win the Big Ten West. I think they should be the early favorite to win that division. And a big reason, I think that is, they also have Braylon Allen at running back, who's a top 5 running back headed into next season. I'm also curious to how they'll use him, how he will be utilized in this offense, whether it's the passing game, because we haven't really seen much of him being like a third down back. And then another positive, when you bring in Phil Longo, that's going to help out Braylon Allen a ton. I'm sure some of you guys have seen his Twitter when he said, "No more 8 and 9 man boxes." Now that may sound crazy, but yes, when you come out in 13 personnel, there's almost no defensive backs or anyone back. There's no threat of a pass for the Badgers, and that's all going away. Hopefully, Braylon Allen's going to have some easy boxes to run on. They're going to spread out the defense, and let's be honest, he's going to be able to showcase his ability even more. When you have to run between the tackles every play, like, you're just going to be showing off your ability to break tackles, yards after contact. But now, get him in space, see what he can do. And I think this could really help his draft stock as well. And I think we're going to learn a lot in the spring game, see what the offense looks like, see if Braylon Allen does get a lot of reps in the passing game. So I'll be very curious to see how things go there. The next team, Nebraska, sticking in the Big Ten West. New head coach Matt Rhule. I'm curious to see how the staff chooses to run the spring game. Matt Rhule, he's done it in multiple different ways at Temple and Baylor. So I'm curious to see how he does things here. And then you also have Jeff Sims versus Casey Thompson, quarterback battle going on. Personally, I think Jeff Sims is going to win the job. I may be a little biased because I'm a huge Jeff Sims fan. I always thought when he was at Georgia Tech, he was like a one-man band out there, doing everything he could. Didn't really have any help. Didn't have help at all, I should say. Like, he didn't really have anyone. He was out there just doing everything he could. And then you have Casey Thompson, who had a pretty good season last year. He came from Texas. Many people expected Scott Frost. Casey Thompson last year, things could work out. Scott Frost could keep his job, and Nebraska could, be fighting for the Big Ten West. Well, things didn't go that way. New start here. When you bring in a new coach, both the quarterbacks getting seen for the first time. Fresh start. Be curious to see who gets the most reps here in the spring game. Malachi Coleman is another player we need to keep an eye on. He's the true freshman, wide receiver, tight end, do-it-all player. Number 2 athlete in the class. I'd say Nicholas Harbor is number 1, so that puts Malachi Coleman at number 2. And if you just go back and watch the Polynesian Bowl, Malachi Coleman, he was the alpha of the receivers. He was spectacular. He's a guy who can't leave one-on-one. He's athletic. Guys his size, they shouldn't be able to run like he does. The sky's the limit for him. I expect him to step in day one, be an early contributor. And I think the spring game is going to be a good opportunity to showcase his skills. And the last thing on Nebraska, their fan base, this is going to be a sellout. This is going to be like opening day of the college football season is what it's going to be. This spring game is going to be crazy. I can't wait to watch it, and I hope you guys tune in as well. The third team on the list, I have Colorado, new head coach Deion Sanders, all the new players. That's what I'm excited for. All the new players he's bringing in. Obviously, his son, the quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. You have Travis Hunter, Cormani McLean, and then also another true freshman, Dylan Edwards, at running back. Travis Hunter, I'm curious to see where he's going to be playing. I think Deion Sanders is going to, do everything he can to get him on the field as much as possible. The fans are coming to see. Yeah, just like Nebraska, this is probably going to be a sellout. Everyone's going to be there. People are coming to watch guys like Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. So I think it'd be pretty cool to have Travis Hunter play receiver and a little bit of defensive back. I think Cormani McLean's going to be out there pretty early. And then I put Dylan Edwards on this list because he's one of the fastest players coming out of high school. Yeah, I think he's due for a big-time moment in the spring game. Like one of those players are like, oh, he's that kind of player. And then another thing, like what's this offense going to look like under new offensive coordinator Sean Lewis? Sean Lewis, the head coach at Kent State last year. Very coveted head coach for all these open positions. He decided to choose an offensive coordinator job at Colorado, which that tells you all you need to know about Deion. Coach Sanders, obviously. But, yeah, I can't wait to see what this offense looks like. I don't think they're going to hold back whatsoever in the spring game. I think it's fireworks. I think it's cameras all over, right? Got to put on a show. I think they're going to do just that. And just like Nebraska, the energy around this game, it just can't be understated. Like this game's going to be on ESPN, already announced. Probably going to be the most watched spring game in the country, besides probably Alabama, just like usual. But yeah, this game, I'm pretty hyped to watch this, and I can't wait for it. And that leads us right into, speaking of hype, Georgia, defending two-time national champions. Who's going to be getting the reps at quarterback? You have Brock Vandagriff, Gunnar Stockton, and Carson Beck. Along with that, you have who's going to step up on defense, especially in the front seven, alongside Micah Williams. You got Bear Alexander in there at defensive tackle. Like, who are going to be some other guys that step up and make a play here in the spring game? I'm curious to see. And the Mike Bobo offense, mixing that with a new quarterback. It's just a spring game, but I think we're going to get a pretty good idea if it's going to be very similar to last year or not, depending on how many deep shots and the type of personnel that they use. Speaking of personnel, Oscar Delp, probably going to be tight end number 2 behind Brock Bowers. And let's see if will he stand out in the spring game? Will he make some plays? In a loaded tight end room, they're bringing in some very talented true freshmen. So I think the tight end room probably the biggest alongside the quarterback. But I think the tight end, keep an eye on that. Georgia likes to work their tight ends into the offense. They're definitely going to have a lot of options there. Next up, we got UCLA. Chip Kelly, he's ready for another great season. The Bruins were fantastic last year. Definitely a good season to build upon. Quarterback battle. That's what everyone's eyes are going to be on, and rightfully so. You have Dante Moore, talented 5-star true freshman, going up against Colin Schlee, the Kent State transfer. This seems like a win-win situation for the Bruins, regardless of who wins it. I think the spring game could tell us a whole lot at who has the edge right now, depending on who gets the most reps, who goes out there first. That's just the type of coach Chip Kelly is. Personally, I'm so excited to watch Dante Moore. I think this dude's a stud. I think he's coming in with the attitude I'm going to win this job. And if he puts on a show like he did at the All-American Bowl in the spring game, I think he's got it sealed. I think the talent's there. I think talent could surpass experience in this situation. And Dante Moore definitely has a lot of talent. Another new guy, they got Carson Steele. He's the Ball State transfer running back. He was top 10 in rushing last year in all of the FBS. Now this guy, he's a stud at running back. You look at him, it looks like a linebacker out there, really. Especially from the waist up, it looks like a linebacker. He's not afraid of contact. He's going to fit in perfectly well, filling the void of losing Zach Charbonnet. Imagine being UCLA, right? You're losing Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Zach Charbonnet, and you go and get Dante Moore, a 5-star quarterback, Colin Schlee from Kent State, who's a very good starting quarterback. He's good. I'm not trying to diss Colin Schlee because I like Dante Moore. That's why I said it's a win-win. Like, you lose DTR to have one of these two guys be your starter, and then you have Carson Steele, who was one of the best running backs in the transfer portal, to step in for Zach Charbonnet. That's the glory of the transfer portal right there. And I can't wait to watch these two guys, I guess these three, all play in the spring game. And then my last question about UCLA. Will fans show up? Will fans show up to the Rose Bowl to possibly watch Dante Moore put on a show, to watch the Bruins, watch Chip Kelly, see what their team's going to be like? And with that being said, you also have to remember that UCLA, their spring game is not like the others I listed here. Like I talked about Matt Rule at Nebraska. Like, let's see how they run this. Chip Kelly just needs to have like a full spring game, not this scrimmage practice type when we go 7-on-7 the O-line drills. We need to have a game, at least one half. Just play a game. Like, I just want to see some guys make some plays. Like, that's what the fans want. The fans don't want to show up and watch like a glorified practice scrimmage. They want to watch a game. They want to watch a game, just like Colorado is going to have. Everyone's going to be watching Colorado because they're going to be playing a game. Deion's going to have a show going on in Boulder. In UCLA, Chip Kelly, he could waste this opportunity and do what he did last year and have just a glorified practice. I hope not. I hope they play a game. I hope he changes view on this. I can't wait to see what he does. And the last team on the list, I have the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, some of the attention is off of Texas A&M after they had all of it a year ago at this time. They had all the attention, signing the number 1 recruiting class, all this talent. People were picking them to win the SEC, go to the playoff, all that. But now, no one's talking about them, right? Like, people just don't talk about Texas A&M. They're like, oh, 5-7, okay? Like, they're going to be the same thing next year. Well, who knows, right? They could easily flip that around. And it all starts in spring practice, the spring game. Quarterback, Connor Wegman. Get to know the name. This kid's very talented. He was held back last year. A lot of other things going on inside the locker room, off the football field for this team. Connor Wegman, he was a very solid player. And his character is very high level. Like, this kid could be a leader for them. When you bring in Bobby Petrino, a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, I don't know how him and Jimbo are going to gel together. That's still going to be a question mark up until probably week 10, right? probably gonna be a question mark until like the end of the season. Like, we're just never gonna know. Two total opposite type of coaches here. Nonetheless, like this, I think this is gonna work out. I think this is a good move for Jimbo, showing that he cares and he knows what he had to do to change like the culture, change the style of play. Like, he knows what he had to change. He knows why they were bad last year. But in terms of the spring game and what we need to be watching for, like, how's this operation going to be ran? Is Petrino going to be on the field next to the Jimbo? Or is he going to be in the booth watching things overhead? I don't know. I don't know what the best thing is to do. I think Bobby Petrino can afford to sit upstairs just because Jimbo, I mean, he's a good quarterback coach. He coached Jameis Winston, won a Heisman, won a national championship. So you already have Jimbo on the sideline, after the drive, Connor Wegman come over, talk to him. Petrino has the eyes upstairs calling the plays. So I'm definitely curious to see how things go there. And Texas A&M, like I said, they were the final team on this list.